Microphone. They
Let's
would
do
need
it this
one.
way.
They would need.
This one over here. By the light.
Okay, well, thank you guys, thank you guys for coming tonight. I appreciate it. I have more than one question, so I'll do a question, and
Yep.
anybody else? I work 10 hours today. Don't have anyone in the school system except college right now, but I'm very concerned about Pinellas County. We pulled my daughter out after middle school because of safety reasons at Carwise. Safety is number one. There's not a safe environment for them to learn. She would come home and at the dinner table be telling us who got beat up, who got thrown off the second floor Carwise every single day. Where is the school board when it comes to that? Do you have authority over that?
Is that for everybody or?
Yeah.
The school board has authority over it. We set policy, and the policy would be disciplinary policy. The problem is that, and I was talking to a couple earlier, it's the memorandum of understanding. It's going to get worse, okay? There is right now a memorandum of understanding between law enforcement and Pinellas County schools to limit the arrests of violent, nonviolent, and petty theft or petty crimes in Pinellas County. We do not have a policy in place in Pinellas County, either attendance or disciplinary, that makes any rational sense. We need to work on that.
I've got 2 children in the school system right now, and school safety is utmost concern. I think it's critical that our schools are safe. Often that goes, so my daughter goes to John Hopkins Middle School, which is notorious for being a bad middle school, and in fact doesn't have any issues with safety whatsoever. It's an issue of leadership in each one of the schools, and I think that the school board needs to be open and accountable and receptive to these instances and deal with them immediately. So if you've got a school where leadership is not dealing with student issues, that principal needs to be pulled, and a principal who's going to take charge and take control needs to be put in place. And that is the school board's obligation and responsibility.
I concur with most of what has been said about that. Being in the classroom, I can tell you I experienced myself. I was attacked and had my arm in a brace for 3 months. And I teach 5th grade. What the problem is what we're seeing more and more violence, and I agree with you. However, when we start tying discipline reports to a school grade, you're going to find individual principals not writing it down. Do you know that if the child is black, that too many black suspensions or referrals bring down a school grade, and it is reported to the state. So they're going to change. They do not show it all. I can tell you, I had a student last year that was sent to the office at least 5 times, and at the end of the year, there was no record of it. So it is the school board's responsibility when that happens, and we need to oversee it a whole lot closer than they're doing, because the principals are not following through, and these kids are running they're almost at a riot level at sometimes. Thank you.
That's why I mentioned earlier about alternative schools. These kids need to be pulled out of the school immediately. By law, we have to educate every child. Doesn't say what building they're in or where they are. That's why you have Pinellas Secondary, which is in reference to the old P-Tech South, and why we have Bayside High School. Most of the kids at Bayside High School do not live in that area. Okay, maybe there's a reason where it's located. Across from where? I think it's the jail. Okay, so we need to pull these kids out. They are disrupting the education of other students who want to be there and they want to learn. Okay, so we need to put them into alternative schools off the campus.
Thank you, John.
I'm going to absolutely agree with what Ken said on this. It is the school board's obligation, not their authority, but their obligation to make sure that the schools are safe. If the principals are not reporting it, then we should add the procedure that when a complaint is levied, it should be CC'd to the superintendent and every school board member. It is our obligation to make sure that that principal follows through with everything, and the system needs to be set in place to where we know about it and we can monitor it. Can't be allowed. We have to take every step. Our guys went to, my two kids went to Carwise, so I know what you mean. Everybody thinks North County, well, the schools are great. There's issues there too. Again, it's the school board's obligation to make sure that doesn't exist.
Anybody else have any questions? Marge?
Common Core. Is anyone for trying to get rid of Common Core? Any one of you? Oh my gosh, you're running against each other.
I think I already addressed it.
Yeah, but you said you didn't think it was possible. Stay out of the fight. Only people that think they can get rid of it should be in that fight. Anybody that's got people that think they're working for, if Ken would not allow you to support him if you didn't think he was going to win.
No, I think we can get rid of Common Core, but it's not something that the school board in and of itself can do. We can go up to the legislature, we can say, we don't want Common Core, but it takes you guys, not just us on the school board, not us running for school board, it takes everybody out there to get rid of Common Core. Because the school board has no say anymore. Okay? It's the legislature that has decided Common Core is the way we're going forward. So you need to go talk to Jack and Jamie and Chris, or no, Chris isn't in there yet. But you need to go talk to your legislators, whether they're state senators or House representatives, state House representatives. You need to go talk to them and say, we don't like this, because they're the only ones that can do it at this point. They've already decided Common Core is the way to go forward. I mean, I don't like it. I don't think teachers like it. I don't think principals like it. I don't think the community likes it. But the only people that can get rid of it is not any of us running for office or any of us that are on the school board. It's you guys. You have to go out there and you have to tell your legislators, get rid of it. Anybody else?
So,
Watch that camera.
I think that the whole high-stakes testing movement has destroyed our public schools. I mean, heart of hearts, there's no question about it. I believe in looking at education over the last 5 to 6 years that Common Core is an effort to push back against what is a popular uprising against high-stakes testing and the problems that high-stakes testing has created. And I think that it has convinced some people that high-stakes testing might be okay because now we're teaching critical thinking and now we're doing some other things in the school. I believe that there is a popular movement against high-stakes standardized testing. Common Core is going to slow that a little bit, but I think it's going to end. I think in the next decade, we've learned our lessons. We've seen what happened. I've been a college professor for 20 years. The kids coming into my classroom are dumber than the kids who came into my classroom 10 years ago. The results of high-stake testings have failed. Parents have seen it. Teachers have seen it. Communities have seen it. There are counties up in Maine that have opted out altogether. That is not financially viable for us as a county at this point. But that movement is afoot. It's happening. And I think Chris is right. The school board may not be able to lead on that, but I believe the people are going to speak, and that is going to change. And that we're going to see that over the next decade, we go, that was a horrible mistake. We need to educate our kids.
Common Core. I've never supported it. I've taught it. It's not good for our kids. Can we make a change as school board members? Just think about this. How about if Our school board goes to Tallahassee, and Manatee County goes to Tallahassee. 12 other states have dropped the Common Core. There is no proven standards test numbers that show that it actually works. It's not good. I have gone to and I've talked about mandates. I've been in public office for 12 years, and there are things that are wrong, and you do go up in voice. I went up representing my community as a mayor. I can go up as your school board member representing you as your voice. Yes, can you make a difference and you go up there as well? Of course you can. But you've got jobs, you've got kids, you got to make sure your kids understand what they're coming home with. I go to Tallahassee and be your voice, saying my community is having a problem. Okay, it's not working. And there was one other point I wanted to make, but I lost it, I'm sorry. But it's, as a school board member, it is my responsibility to be that voice. So yes, and I have all the way through this campaign, I didn't start saying that it was the law. Laws can be changed. That's what I was going to tell you. There is, actually, there is a movement coming this year that parents are going to pull their kids out during testing time. All over the nation, and Florida is going to be one of the biggest states hit. The grades that won't do it are third and seniors because they need it for promotion. But there is a huge movement to remove this, and I went and saw that Glenn Beck documentary, and if you haven't seen it, find it, learn it, because it is telling you the future of our kids today. And I sat through that whole movie, and all I said was, oh my God, yes. Oh yes, we are in trouble. And yes, as a board member, I don't have to, just like we give direction to Dr. Greco, you give us the direction. We're your voice. That's what you put us there for. And I have that experience in leadership to do that.
If it's not Common Core, there's going to be some test. Is Common Core the best way to go? Maybe not. What is the alternative we're going to offer? We want to hold administrators, we want to hold teachers accountable. We want to make sure our kids are not dumber as they were 10, 20 years ago. Okay? That's not only because of the testing. Now again, as a secondary person, okay, we have tests all the time, at least in math classes, to see if our kids know what's going on. Okay, end of chapter tests, whatever. Some of the testing, and again, we're going to come back to the issue about using computers. There are kids who are taking the state test, okay, or FCAT or whatever on computers, and they do not like computers. So they're behind the 8 ball before they even start. We don't even care about those kids. Okay, we're just trying to get everything done. So as far as the Common Core, there's going to be some test for accountability. I think you all want your tax dollars used the proper way. Okay? Don't you want to know that your kids are getting the best education? So there's going to be some way to measure what they know, or conversely, what they don't know, and we need to reteach it, or go back to square one. But again, as I mentioned earlier, I've been through the modern math syndrome. I've been through the back to basics move. I mean, that seems like every 10 years there's another move, okay? But as a teacher, okay, you need the proper training as to what is expected of you.
I think it's important to understand how we got here. Common Core is just the latest thing. This movement actually began with conversation in the 70s. It began in the 80s. On a federal level, began under the George H.W. Bush regime, and that was asking for voluntary accountability and curriculum. At that time, it was illegal for the federal government to dictate any curriculum nationally. It continued under the Clinton administration. Again, they wanted voluntary, but the Republican-controlled legislature wouldn't let it fly. And then finally, and during that period, there was a lot of, not just in education, but in government itself, they were trying to put business principles into government. Well-intended. The whole thing was well-intended. Didn't work, but it started out well-intended, trying to improve low-scoring schools and students, you know. Over the years, and then George W. Bush came in, created No Child Left Behind, and then it became mandated by law. Common Core is simply the next phase of that. somewhere along the line, what initially started out, well-intended, as trying to help children by, the conversation was strictly accountability and curriculum. That got turned around, and the assessment now is the primary focus. So I think, yes, it will go away. It has to go away, and I really honestly believe that it truly will go away, because it flat out doesn't work. We've tried it many other times, many other places under different names. The bottom line is it doesn't work. We can't put the assessment first. As a school board member, we have the obligation to educate the public and to educate the legislators. I have everybody in our delegation, I have their cell phone on my cell phone. They will take my calls. I call them all the time. And they call me as well for local issues and as professional and community issues. I consider it my obligation to help make it go away and to educate the public that they need to get involved, because it's the best thing for our children to make it go away and bring in a system that has common sense. That's it.
Right, so this is what I'm not hearing from anyone. This isn't just about testing. This isn't just about math. This is about indoctrinating our children. This is about teaching our children that Islam had something to do with the building of America. Does anybody on this board agree that Islam had anything to do with building America? Anybody? Because that's a lie. Okay. And I just, on a side note, want to go back to the LGBT. We're talking about Gay Day. And if the school board